Good afternoon and welcome back to our coverage of SeafoodExpo Global in Brussels, Belgium. I'm James Wright, reporting for SeafoodSource.com. Joining me today is my longtime colleague, contributing editor, Jason Holland. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, James.
Now, Jason is based in London and he's been covering the ongoing macro wars in the Northeast Atlantic for some time. Jason, in your eyes, who are the winners and losers in regard to the allocations?
Yeah, well, as we know, after 5 years of business negotiations, we've finally got a deal where everybody's happy. We've got sensible quotas have been announced, and the ICES is about to announce a significantly increased total allowable catch. While the Faroes should be happy with a quota that could go as high as 150,000 tonnes, I believe the real winners will be the consumers. When the Marine Stewardship Council certification was suspended, and when the fish was downgraded on the fish to eat list, there was considerable consumer confusion in there. And I believe that reinstatement of MSC certification, along with a green rating on the fish to eat list, would go a long way to alleviating those issues.
Now, the EU is the world's leading seafood importer, and as it were, it's growing wider, the deficit. Now, if this trend can be reversed, how?
Yeah. Well, I believe we import something like 68% of our seafood today. And while there's not a lot we can do about wild fisheries, certainly our aquaculture industry, there's plenty of scope there. I believe that production now stands at 1.3 million tonnes with a value of 3.1 billion euros. And the European Commission thinks there's a lot of scope there for improvement. If, as is believed, Maria Damanaki and her team announce some steps in that regard, then I'm sure they'll be gratefully received.
Now, the horse meat crisis, or Horsegate, as it's called, throughout Europe, made headlines around the world, and there are reports of widespread mislabeling globally in the United States as well.
Yeah.
What lesson can the seafood industry learn from such fraud scandals?
Yeah, well, while the repercussions of Horsegate are still going on now through the European resale industry, seafood, fortunately, for all of us, was kept well out of that issue, that scandal. However, we're not naive enough to assume that there is no fraud in the European seafood industry. So it needs to carry on looking at best practice. It needs to make sure that it ticks all the boxes in terms of traceability and safety. And looking ahead, provenance has become a very important issue here in Europe, and that should stand seafood firms in good stead.
Well, thank you, Jason, for your time and insight.
I
appreciate it. And for more coverage of SeafoodExpo Global here in Brussels, please check into SeafoodSource.com over the next 3 days. In Brussels, I'm James Wright.